Let us know about these irons.
Right.
What are we talking about here?
We are going to start with looks. So I really like this category. And as I've sort of alluded to on some of the other episodes, you can almost subcategorize this category now. So there was just hollow-bodied players' distance irons, but now we've got this sort of compact player distance iron selection and stuff that's a bit bigger, does the same job, it's just a little bit bigger and more forgiving. So again, the best example I can give you is P770 would fall into this from TaylorMade, would fall into that compact one. P790, it's sort of bigger.
Is that big
sibling,
zoomy?
would go big zoomy for me. So we're looking at the more compact area with these three irons. So important to categorize them in that regard.
It is.
Looks wise, right, all three of these irons are really good looking irons in their own right, but of the categories we've selected, I think this is the easiest to judge depending on where I go with it. Doesn't make
Figure
no
that
sense.
one out.
But
as in which angle you're talking
yeah,
about.
so
we spoke about this last week.
I did, and I'm trying to figure out a way to best quantify this because, as I said to Dan, there's some irons I look at when they're sat in the bag look amazing. When they're sat on the shop floor from the back, so you've seen that back angle, the branding, the finish, all that kind of stuff. Important, but when push comes to shove,
pretty
relevant. Yeah,
pretty irrelevant.
You're only looking at that. The look of it only really matters when it's in the playing position, right?
It's the only place you're going to
ball.
interact with it, apart from looking at your back and going, "Ooh, they're nice, aren't they?"
Yeah, because that's where the magic happens. Does it sit square? Does it frame the ball nicely? Is it big enough? Is it shaped well? Like that's the big stuff for me.
So how are you doing this?
I don't know. I'm sort of changing my mind as I'm going along here because the Mizuno, to me, from the shelf appeal back position, stands head and shoulders
pretty
above.
pure, isn't it?
Oh, it's just gorgeous. Just the finish, the curves, the minimalism. I love what Mizuno have done when they're not filling the sort of engravings in with paint fill. I always love that as a little.
Yeah, you always point that out, and I didn't
it.
notice it, to be fair, until you pointed it out, and it's like,
just gives a really classy look when you're looking at like posh fancy chef's knives and things that are engraved. They very rarely see paint fill on them. They just do the engraving. It's pure.
Interesting comparison though. I like
craftsmanship.
It. Craftsmanship.
It's all about craftsmanship.
An artist's tool.
However, I think from the playing position, and Mizuno people won't like me saying this, as in Mizuno fans, I've just something about Mizuno irons from a playing position point of view just never quite suited my eye. I can appreciate how beautifully made they are. There's something about the transition from the hosel into the top edge on some of the irons and the leading edge doesn't quite suit my eye. I can see why these suit a load of people's eyes, but it's not what I look for. However, I'm taking my hat off here. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to give you the winner yet, but that's where my dilemma lies.
So your dilemma with the Mizuno is they're beautiful from the shelf appeal point of view, they sit in the bag.
So far ahead of anything. Yeah,
so far ahead of anything, that's significant. But then sat behind the ball, not your favourite.
Not quite my favourite, but again, I need to quantify that. They're not bad in any way. They do all the right
they're just
things.
not your favourite.
Some people,
but that's I think with looks especially, it's tricky because it's so subjective. But I think it's nice to hear your opinion, Joe. It's what you paid to do.
P770 have had a brilliant makeover. So they've sort of repositioned that P770 iron closer to the player's cavity. So the P7CB, so they've sort of remarketed it. Had a little, rather than just being P790's annoying little sibling, they've given it its own space, made it a lot closer to being sort of a more playery iron. So it again, really clean and minimal. This is tough. I thought this was
a tough one.
actually.
I think the more you speak about it out loud, but I think the sort of the line on the back of that club specifically looks gorgeous.
I do, yeah. It's lovely shaping.
A nice hint to some TaylorMade irons from the 90s, I think, in there that people have quite a lot of affinity for.
And they've taken away a lot of bright chrome from other models, some slight more stripes. It's not it's really subtle. So from a playing position, I'd give it to the P770s out of these three irons. I love the way they sit behind the ball. Nice compact blade length. They just look great in behind the ball. They're really, really good.
Where's the Callaway sit in this then? Yeah, kind
Apex
of in the middle of both.
Middle of both, yeah. So it's like, my favourite thing about these, you mentioned it before, just how cohesive they are with the rest of the range, to be able to combo that set. I love how tightly they sit within their family. I also they look a bit more robust. So you've got like that little notch cut out of the back, filled with the weights, so it makes it easy to alter the swing weight within fittings. puts that center of mass right behind the impact zone, which really helps the feel. And they do feel great, which we'll get onto in a moment. But I've decided.
Oh, I'm ready.
I just think Mizuno from the back, even though I don't like the playing position as much as some other irons, I just think they're that far ahead of everything else from that angle.
Deserves to be crowned.
I'm going to go 1.
1 for Mizuno.
2, P770.
Cool.
And 3 for Apex Pro.
That, from your analysis there, I think is fair.
Okay.
More than fair, actually. I think it's very accurate.
Right, launch monitor battles. This is the quantifiable data. So for context, not all the same loft. So P770 and Apex
noting,
Pro are at 33 degrees, whereas the Pro 245 from Mizuno is at 30 degrees, so 3 degrees stronger.
Wow, that's very strong.
Than the other two. So this isn't all apple for apples.
No.
But interestingly, so from the data I got, so let's go ball speed. The quickest off the face, even though it was 3 degrees weaker for me, was a P770, 124 miles per hour, just over. Pro 245, 122.5 miles per hour. Apex Pro, 122.7, so they're basically the same. The highest launching for me was the Apex Pro, which might be very important for some people in this category who want a bit more launch out of it. So again, I'm having to take off my hat of what I would look for. I'm looking for people who are going to be shopping in this category and seeing what I think is most appropriate. So along with the higher launch from the Apex Pro, they're the highest spinning at 6.6 for me, 6,600 revs. P770s were just over 6,400, and the Pro 245 being stronger in loft, about 6,000, just under 6,300, so still decent.
Still decent for a 30 degree.
All pretty similar apexes. Of peak height, 95 feet for the P770 and the Mizuno Pro 245, and the Apex Pro just a couple of feet higher at 97. Clear winner in the distance, based primarily on the ball speed, the TaylorMade P770. That was carrying 184 for me with a 7-iron.
Even with that Mizuno at 30?
Yeah, the Mizuno was 177. So a good 7 yards behind it for me.
What's going on there?
Sometimes you do have to... I will caveat this. Because I did retest them on the same day. The same balls. I was trying to say like different days and different stuff can make a difference, but I did actually test these in the same place with the same balls in the same conditions. So I think it's
them's the numbers, yeah. You've got to take them on the chin.
Yeah, them's the fact. The Apex Pro was just a yard longer than the 245 at 178 for me, so it was a good bit of distance boost from the P770. So again here, totally subjective to your needs. If you're looking for ball speed, clearly P770.
Ball speed and distance in that one, right?
If you're looking for height and launch, then the Apex Pro, for me,
definitely
did the job.
Where does the Mizuno sit in all of this?
Yeah, middle of the road, performance-wise, in terms of the quantifiable data, but maybe it'll do better on the non-quantifiable. Who knows?
Tease.
But for me, the closest data to what I would like to see, I think, was the P770.
Yeah.
It's a good mid-spin point of the 3 long irons, longest carry and highest ball speed, which, to be honest, if I was dipping into this category, I'm going into this hollow-bodied category because I want the advantages of that flexing face, a bit thinner and a bit more oomph, as you like me to say.
I do.
So, yeah, I'm going... The quantifiable stuff for me is going to go P770 1, Apex Pro 2, and obviously the Mizuno
3. Okay, interesting. And I think there for those listening who might be shopping in this category, I think you spelled out actually what the differences are. So if you recognise a need that you need filling in the market for some irons, there you go.
Good place to start.
Good work. On quantifiables, and what are we talking about here? Like sound, feel, vibes?
Vibes is not one. Sound and feel is one. Turf interaction, because I think that's really underrated. People don't think about that.
No, they don't actually.
As much as they possibly should. Consistency and forgiveness. Again, difficult to put number values on these things, so that's why I'm saying they're non-quantifiable.
Okay.
Sound and feel. So Mizuno really did it for me here. It's a perfect blend of lively without being harsh. Even though maybe the ball speed comparative to the others doesn't suggest that lively, but it really feels like it's got some life and some bounce to strike with nothing firm. It just feels really syrupy at impact.
Oh, I like that word, Joe.
Apex felt a little hotter off the face and really sort of muted acoustic. There's no sense of a high-pitched, tingy, anything like that. Mizuno particularly have done a lot of work on their sound. P770 also felt great,
I would say a bit more robust than the other two, just a bit of a firmer impact feel. Sometimes I think the speed slot in the P770 and P790, because I tend to miss low when I miss it. I'm more thin than fat or high on the blade. Just get a little bit firmer feel from that. It's great performance. The tech's great on that speed. It retains so much ball speed, but from a feel point of view, which I'm talking about here, which is more non-quantifiable, when I hit it low, I just prefer the other two a little bit more. Although I feel harsh on that. Do you want me to put them? Do you want me to grade sound of fit, or am I just grading non-quantifiable all as one?
I mean, we're at the stage where I think we could do that, and we could then take. My maths isn't so great.
We can cut. Figure this out. I'm gonna make it hard.
Go on,
for
no,
you.
mate. Go on, do it. No, I think
Mizuno 1 there.
Hold on, but this is for what? My table's
Sound
now
and
ruined.
feel.
S and F.
S and F.
Bit of S and F. Mizuno.
Yeah.
1.
Apex.
2.
P770.
Okay. Cool.
Right.
Now I can do this. And then what's next?
Turf interaction.
TI.
Bit of TI. So comfortably for me here, P770 based on where I play. It's got a lower leading edge than ever before. So
Where do you let the people know where you play?
Saunton Golf Club, Linksy, firm turf, tight turf. So the leading edge on these sits really low, much lower than ever before. And sits nice and tight and really slices through that firm links turf. Both of the other two models feel and actually look visually as if they have more bounce. So if you're somebody who plays in softer, longer grass conditions, you may be going to get a bit more margin for error from both of the other two, in my opinion. The Apex sole is a bit more contoured, so maybe a bit more versatility there. It's a really tough one to grade
isn't it?
simply because
you clearly, and it's what you'd prefer. But these are your decisions, Joe. You can't think about everybody on the planet.
770 first.
Yeah.
Based on the play, but also they've sort of beveled the leading edge, so that plays well away from that.
And you're not saying it's only going to work on firm link surf.
It works particularly well there, but
also it's great.
It plays there. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to go with. I did like the Apex Pro.
So that'll be 2.
Yeah, Mizuno 3 there.
I'll tell you what, just eyeballing these.
Or is it moving about a bit?
There's like some have had lots of 1.
Why don't
Like
you
there's a
not
1, there's a 3. Well,
here's a thought.
I'm trying to look. I've got to look at the numbers.
Well, no. Why don't you eyeball a bit more intently and give yourself a running total so you don't have so many maths to do at the end? Let me do my talking.
I'm trying to listen to you and engage.
You do some totting up, and that'll keep us on track.
Right, what's next?
Bit of CNF. Consistency and forgiveness. So, right. Go on. I was going to announce this, but yeah, go on. So, Apex Pro, fairly comfortably for me on this one.
So I'm not listening because I'm counting.
Good. I'll round it up at the end then.
Why?
Both left and right and front to back was a little bit tighter than the other two models. So we talk about forgiveness in terms of it's multi-dimensional, isn't it? You want something to be forgiving. If you miss-hit it, it's still going to make the distance.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to get a jumper off these hollow bodies that goes miles. But also when you miss it wide, you want it to be as tight as possible. I felt on both of those parameters for me, my grouping, particularly when I put them together all at the same time, was a little bit tighter than the other two models. It just really gobbles up miss-hits.
That's
from a feedback point of view.
It's good to know.
Very, very, very flattering. The other two just give you a little bit more feedback, maybe. So some people see that as a negative. Yeah, some people see it as a negative. They don't want to feel that. Some people will see that as a positive because it's a learning experience. You can really get the feedback of where you hit it, and some people are really keen on that. Something to bear in mind, P770, like I said, I don't like the feel on the lower strikes, but it performs very well on those thin shots. So if you're a thinner like me, P770 is a good way to go. So Apex Pro first in that. Have you done that?
So I've got that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
sorry. No, I managed to add the numbers up quickly.
Mizuno 2.
Mizuno 2.
P770 next.
3. I'm getting flashbacks to my math classes here where I did not excel. Okay, great.
Workability.
W. I'll post this on our Instagram page. This is like the writings of a madman. This scribblings.
Workability.
Yes.
What I mean
this
by
is
that,
a good category.
Yeah, you're again totally unquantifiable. So this is all anecdotal and my preference on this.
It's fine.
If you're in this market, you're getting away from game improvement. You might be somebody who's trying to hit lower shots, higher shots, left to right, right to left. You're going to move the ball a bit. Comfortably for me, P770 here.
Okay, good.
Thinner
like
top
that.
line, shorter blade length, minimal offset. I found the club face easy to manipulate at, address,
to produce the shots.
One of those
I
first
wanted.
things you mentioned make it a more workable club for you.
The thinner top line doesn't really have much to do with that. It just maybe gives it the feeling of like a more bladey club that makes you feel
Like you're doing that.
like you possibly can do.
Okay.
Shorter blade length, I think, is easy. It's like if you're trying to turn the Titanic with it's big and long, might have a difficult, more wider turning circle. A little Porsche Carrera or something like that might turn a little. Do you know what I mean?
Superb
I don't know if there's any
referencing.
physics behind that, but
Superb references,
it feels to me. So I'm going to change this up a bit because I found the Pro and the Mizuno very similar
Okay.
in that regard. So I'm going to have to give them both a 2.
Oh, that's fine. No, we can do that.
And the P770 takes the win.
Wow.
For that, for me.
This is an epic
Now,
battle. For those tossing along at home.
Just on this, I picked a winner anecdotally from my head when I didn't realise we weren't
We were doing the points
totting
thing.
them up
Yeah.
to quantify it. I wonder if it matches.
We'll find out shortly, won't we?
Who goes first?
Are we done?
Yeah.
Can I just say, this has been fascinating because...
Well, I think we've nailed a new format.
Yeah,
here.
this is... Yeah,
We might need a better table.
right, before we did W, which was workability, they
Yes.
were all tied.
Oh.
Can you believe that? Well, it's not that crazy, but that's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Well, doesn't that show you how little there is to choose then between some of these products?
Which is, I think, a good thing.
I do, yeah. I
Because it
agree.
gives the people at home when they're getting fitted more options. And then you do pick one on which category is most important to you that it might excel in. It could be just looks. It could be price. It could be anything from that point.
Well, any of you who have more than one GCSE here will now realise from Dan's previous statement that
Who's won?
P770 has won and the other two have tied for second. Because
I ruined the surprise.
yeah, you've totally ruined the
So the
suspense there.
P770 finished on 11 points.
Hang
and
on.
the other two
What did
finished
I put
on
there?
12.
My overall winner,
Oh!
P770, just.
By a whisker.
Is
And
what-
you wrote down just on there. So
So that, I'm glad
was
that
cool,
all adds up.
man.
That is cool.
We literally, we obviously spoke about doing this before the pod today, but this whole thing was like, anything could happen.
New
here.
segment.
New segment just dropped,
segment.
bro. Enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Squeaky. And we'll do some more of them, I think. And let us know what you want to see. And we'll do 3 ways. We could do a 4-way.
Yep, we could. Just to round off that little section while Dan's giggling, if you are looking for the easiest of the bunch of those to use, the Apex Pro, I would say.
If you just after something that's
Super user friendly. And if you're just a show pony who just loves looks,
That
feel,
Mizuno.
syrup,
slightly stronger
the
lofts as
Mizuno is
well.
pretty sexy. You might want to go there. So I hope, even though it was very tight in the scores, I hope that's highlighted the individual differences in the different categories you might want to keep an eye out
That's the beauty
for.
of that, I think. It's going to highlight to people what something excels in and maybe doesn't. So, for example, you know, the TaylorMade, the Mizuno got a 1 on looks, but a 3 on LM. Launched one today. I'll put this on our Instagram channel if that's even live yet, and you can see what the heck I'm on about. And if you want to see, you know, some things head to head, you might have had a fitting and you might have a few selected, and you want to hear us do this to it. Just let us know, man.
4-way.
Little
Go
4-way.
with the 5-way.
I'm uncomfortable with
You're
that. I
gonna
feel like
need-
one of them will be left out in a 5-way.
We've all got our limits.
Yeah.
You need a safe word there, I think, and you might run out of paper.
I might run out of paper in a 5-way.
Yeah.
I could go landscape with a 5-way.
You could, yeah, why not?
Shut up.